Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If this is the first time that you've discovered my channel, yay, you're here. I'm so glad. I've been waiting for you. And if you're a returning subscriber, yay, thanks for coming back. I truly appreciate your support, and I hope that my reviews are helpful. My goal has always been to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can decide whether or not you want to spend time or money or both sometimes watching a particular film. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is called Dune Part 2. This epic conclusion, and it might not be the conclusion, but anyway, Part 2 is this sci-fi drama. It is now playing in theaters. And I've had quite a few subscribers ask me, when are you going to do the review? And now is the time. I'm finally getting ready to do the review after just barely finishing watching it. So I've been dragging my feet. It's kind of weird because so many people are excited about this movie. But I'll get into that here more in just a second. The film is rated PG-13. It is 2 hours and 46 minutes long, which is one of the reasons why I've been dragging my feet, because it's a really long movie. But my overall movie review mom grade is an A. So let me explain. First, I'll give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked, things I didn't like, tips for parents, themes worth talking about, funny lines, interesting lines, and recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also really like if you haven't seen them yet. So let's dive in. In a nutshell, I don't know why, but I just have never been able to get into Dune. I was bored with the first movie portrayal of the story back in 1984. I know, what's wrong with me? I was hoping that the new version, part one, that came out in 2021, would really excite me. It just didn't resonate with me for some reason. And so I was really looking forward to part two, thinking maybe this will finally grab my attention. Did I love part two? Not really, but I absolutely recognize its impressive artistry, the star-studded cast, and the huge fan base. Just for some reason, it's not my cup of tea. I don't know why. But speaking of huge, loyal fan base, the AMC Theater website crashed the day that tickets went on for sale. The story is about Paul Atreides, who unites with Chani and the Fremen while seeking revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. I mean, it's an epic story, right? The first half of the 1984 movie was covered in the 2021 Dune film part one, and now part two covers the second half. The sequel was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who also co-wrote it with John Spate and Frank Herbert. Already, it has been nominated for Most Anticipated Film by the Hollywood Critics Association. The film premiered on the 40th anniversary of the 1984 Dune opening. So I love that when directors and producers are very mindful of anniversaries and they really set a goal to hit that mark, and they did. So let me give you some quick tips for parents. There is torture, there is fighting, there is more murder. People are in perilous situations, and young kids will definitely be bored. Older kids, teens, perhaps might be interested if they're really into this sci-fi type of story. Some of the themes that are illustrated very well are fate, legends versus myths, looking and waiting for a messiah, choices and consequences, unity, and seers, those who can see into the future. Now, all of that is very compelling, right? So again, I don't know what's wrong with me. It just is like, I'd rather watch something else. But anyway, I kept watching. All right, so there were a lot of things I really did like about this movie. First of all, the enormous cast is packed full of talent, including 2 Oscar winners, Javier Bardem and Christopher Walken. I love both of those guys. And 5 Oscar nominees. Timothy Chalamet, who of course is the lead character in the film, Josh Brolin, Austin Butler, who looks very different in this film, Florence Pugh, I adore her as well, and Charlotte Rampling. Also excellent in the cast are Zendaya, I've heard both names pronounced. I even watched her explain how to pronounce her name correctly. And I can't remember what she said, but she's great in it as well. Rebecca Ferguson, who's just beautiful and so elegant in everything that she does. Dave Bautista, who uses his ugh to really sell the role. Leah Seydoux, Stellan Skarsgård, and I'll tell you about him in just a minute, and so many more. So working on the movie looked rough. For example, Stellan Skarsgård's body makeup took 8 hours to apply each day of filming, as well as another 2 hours to remove after filming. So to avoid having to go to the bathroom in this whole getup, he didn't drink anything and he took Imodium pills to stop him up. I'm like, that's dedication right there. Give the guy an Oscar. I don't know. That's dedication. Austin Butler looked and acted like Elvis in even the limited series called Masters of the Air, which I just reviewed, but he definitely doesn't look or act like Elvis in this movie. He gained 25 pounds to play the psychotic killer Fade Routha. He was offered the role while just having coffee with the director one day and didn't even need to audition. He did do vocal training so that he could sound more like Stellan Skarsgård. So that's pretty cool. And the moment that Austin Butler's character kissed the character Baron Harkonnen was entirely improvised. They actually kissed twice. And I was like, I wonder if that's in the script. And turns out it was not. So his lips are so unique, by the way. Anyway, I thought he was great. And just the little subtle expressions on his face were so powerful. Great job, Austin Butler. I'm a big fan. Sadly, the scenes that included Tim Blake Nelson, whom I love, and Stephen McKinley Henderson were cut in the final film. So they received special thanks in the rolling credits at the end of the movie. Beautiful musical score by Hans Zimmer, of course. We expect nothing but fantastic from him. And incredible cinematography by Greg Fraser. Kudos to the makeup department and the art department for such vision. Also notably exceptional is the sound design. The largest and probably the hardest working team out of all of them is the visual effects team. The special effects are unbelievable. The final battle is crazy good. And you'll want to watch this on the biggest IMAX screen that you can find. Look quickly at the 2-hour, 22-minute mark for a shot of ants crawling on an ear. It's actually a respectful nod to David Lynch, who was the director of the original Dune movie back in 1984, who used a similar shot. The movie poster is cool, and I know people are losing their minds about just the spectacle of this movie, which is phenomenal. So with all of that praise, there were obviously some things that I didn't like, other than just it's not my cup of tea for some reason, and I don't know why. But yes, the movie is long, and despite its length, though, the director revealed that he is very disciplined when it comes to editing. He explains that the process is very painful. I would think so. And that he is not planning on releasing an extended version or the director's version cut or anything like that. And about the deleted parts, he stated, quote, when it's dead, and it's dead for a reason. And I respect that, even though he still created a very long movie. Sometimes it's really hard to understand what people are saying when they whisper. And there's a lot of whispering in this movie. So I was like, what? So even though you should watch it on a big screen, it will be nice when it comes to online streaming and we can add subtitles to see what we missed. The scenes that show big cheering crowds kind of looked super fake to me, especially compared to all of the other stunning visuals. And I don't know if any of that bothered you at all. Now, when I watch movies, I take notes, of course, but I also like to write down funny lines and interesting lines simply so I can share them with you so you can get a taste and feel for the dialogue and script writing quality. Now, I look back at my notes and I did not write down any funny lines, but I did write down some interesting lines that I'll share with you. You can also see them on my website at moviereviewmom.com. So I really liked this one line by Princess Irulan, who's played by Florence Pugh. I just think she's fantastic. I wish she as an actress could have done more in this movie because she's so great. But what she did was great. Anyway, this is a line where she's talking to somebody, and this group of people are waiting for a Messiah to save them, and then another group of people is saying that's ridiculous. What a waste of time, and we can have control over them if we just perpetuate this myth. Anyway, she says to somebody, "You underestimate the power of faith." And somebody recognizes that that was a wise thing to say because faith is extremely powerful. The Reverend Mother is played by Charlotte Rumpling, and she says, "We don't hope, we plan." And there are some really interesting and compelling leaders on all the various sides of these groups. Another interesting line is spoken by Chani, who's played by Zendaya, and she says, "The world has made choices for us." And I thought that was interesting. And then another line that she says is, "The prophecy is how they enslave us," speaking to that hope and looking for a Messiah. Now, there are 3 movies that I instantly thought of that I wanted to recommend to you if you haven't seen these already. The first one is Dune Part 1. If you haven't seen any Dune movies, this isn't the first one to jump into because you are not going to have any clue about what's going on. So you really do need to go back and watch that first one, the newer one, Part 1. And it is actually currently available on Netflix, but only for a limited amount of time. So if you have Netflix, you can watch that for free, catch up, and then I think that this next Part 2 will be really interesting. You'll be caught up. A second movie is Star Wars. And at first I was going to say, watch any Star Wars movie just because there's that same sci-fi epic drama. However, there's a lot more comedy in Star Wars, but interesting characters. But not all Star Wars movies are great. And so The Empire Strikes Back, if you haven't seen that, you definitely need to see that one. But again, that's a long saga and you need to have understood everything that built up to that. So you probably do need to start from the oldest. Now, that's not the first in the story, but the oldest one, and then work your way forward, kind of. And then, interestingly, another movie I thought of is Lawrence of Arabia, probably because it's centered around so much sand. And again, filming in this sand environment had to have been really cool, but also really difficult, especially as winds picked up and all of that. But the effects are stunning. And I know that there were some special effects involved in that, but they also had real sand that they were working on. Anyway, that's it for my review. Now, I know it's not an exhaustive review where I get into the intricacies of all of the characters because honestly, I'm just not invested in them enough, as I've mentioned several times. But so for true fans, I think that you're going to really enjoy this. Have a fantastic day. And when you get a minute, run over to Instagram. You can find me there as Movie Review Mom, but you can also find me as Trina Boice, which is my name, and you can learn about my books, especially when I offer them for free on Amazon, which is almost every weekend. I have 31 nonfiction books, and I'm an author coach as well. And I am so thrilled when I get to work with clients who are fiction authors because their brains just work differently. And this story, this epic saga, is a perfect example of how my brain just could never think of all of the stuff that's in this movie. And so I'm grateful for fiction writers, obviously. But you can also see on my author Instagram page, my products, my online courses, and some of my other shenanigans. Have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.